Currently, this is actually the end of the video where I am right now. So I've just finished my full day. I'm a little bit exhausted. I'm a little bit sweaty from the gym, but we got a lot done today. So this is a vlog video of just what happened today. It is Monday. So yeah, the start of my week, giving you guys a little bit of insight on kind of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Now, I would love it if you guys would maybe take a screenshot or a photo of you guys watching this video, share it to your Instagram and tag me in that, and then I'll repost that for you guys there. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and let's get into it.
We're just on the way to the studio now to tattoo the bro. We're gonna be starting his leg sleeve, and the real challenge of today is that this is the only day off he can have for at least the next kind of like 3 months. He's a professional athlete, so I really want to make sure that this tattoo that we do today, although we only have the one session, quite a limited amount of hours, as well as we need to design a lot of this leg, the piece needs to look good by itself and just be easily connected to. So he wants it in the style of like Japanese, not super traditional. So yeah, if there's any style that can work well like that, yeah, this is definitely one of them. So I'm sure that won't be too much of a problem. I think the main task, especially for the morning, is getting a bit of this design sorted. I need to see and understand the look that he really wants out of this leg sleeve, because I have my kind of opinion, but I have a feeling his is a little bit different, and he's the one who needs to be happy with it. So yeah, we'll make sure that we get all of that sorted in a bit of a chat this morning, and then we can get into the tattooing. And I still got a while until I'm at work, so we can talk about some other things. Like, I've been real busy with the Tattoo Academy, painting, family, life, and all the rest of that. So it hasn't really been like a convenient time to be pushing YouTube, but I think the reality is it's like no excuses. I just have to push all of these levels kind of like at the same time. I tried doing a few, I guess, like exercises last night, writing some things down and seeing what was really important to me, but like I don't want any of these areas to really drop off. So I do want to keep pushing everything as hard as I can, and if you want to do a lot, I guess there's no easy way out through that. You know, if you want to be successful, you just have to decide, okay, I'm going to put all this weight on my back and lift it, you know, like it's like that. So here we are, you know, and it's quite easy, I guess, to push the YouTube stuff with something like nice and light like this vlog. You know, it doesn't require too much editing. I do have a larger video that I'm currently editing for the YouTube channel as well, and some work also for the Real Tattoo Academy. But I just want to like kind of get some fast workflow done with this vlog to help, yeah, just build up that workflow that's there, and then just start smashing it all out again. Outside PC, because it's something that we can do kind of like complete pretty much today. That's gonna look finished. You know, he said you might not be able to come in for like a while. Yeah, bro. So that'll be a spot that's pretty like manageable. And I think we basically go like, I guess like main image, something on the back, and then like main images on the front of the thigh, and then kind of like whether you want a dragon or something, we need to make sure that that's twisting through like most of it. And like at least make this spot like a real nice piece, you know? Yeah, you want a few like good pieces, you know?
Is that what it's about, the main piece?
Yeah. So still do all of that flow stuff that was in that image, so you'll still get that overall look. But at least when people like look at it or whatever, they'll be like, oh, there's something there.
Alright, so me and the bro have looked at a few images now, and we've landed on this one. So it was something that I've generated on Midjourney, and I use ChatGPT to help prompt my ideas. I find it's a lot smoother, with like, I guess, that AI working together. And I know people will be very quick to comment as soon as you use AI, it's like bad for art and bad for everything. But there's like levels to this, you know. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. Like all day I can sit down, I can paint, I can draw anything completely freehand. But with my tattoos, I want to give my clients the best, you know, the best of the best. And that starts at the reference and at the design. Because the truth really is, to have a perfect reference not using AI, you need an extremely good photographer, you need good camera stuff, you need to know how to edit your photo, you need to have your models, your lighting, all of this perfect for your realism stuff. So all this is doing is just creating a really clean reference. It's like, I guess, photographed well, it's edited well, your levels of all of your values are really good. It's always providing a really nice image. But anything Japanese inspired, I do like to stick to some little hints of that traditional look. I don't really tattoo traditional Japanese, but I love and I appreciate that flow. So I try and incorporate it into these Japanese realistic styled sleeves that I quite often do. So I'm starting off just freehanding in these waves here. And I very quickly found there was a little bit of like flow missing here. And what I'm talking about is, you see how I was at first double lining out this wave? It felt a little bit kind of like robotic, and it just wasn't flowing. And then I decided to switch this up to using the full width of the pen to kind of leave my waves. So no longer going from the negative, I'm now just fully saturating, and I will line on the outside of my pen. Doing this is kind of like using a paintbrush. Rather than trying to do perfect lines with the tip of the pen so much, I'm just allowing these kind of organic forms and shapes to kind of come out of this area. And I'm just respecting the flow of the leg and the piece, everything that's going on. And you can see in the part that we were just looking at, this lower section here, that you can now see, I did start off with a yellow pen first. So it's always nice to, I guess, like finding levels of refining this whole process. So just with a yellow pen, I kind of sketched in and found like a rough flow that I could kind of just scribble on, and prioritizing my flow. And now with the red pen, the darker one, I could prioritize my more refined form there. So just really focusing on the shapes. And the top of this helmet here, I'm kind of just drawing on to be a little bit bigger. I like the large amount of negative space that's going to sit in this pocket, so I didn't want it to be too small. That negative space is really important as you look at the leg, like as a whole. It's gonna give us a really nice shape here. So I wanted to keep this area a little bit bigger, and it's just going to serve as a really nice kind of negative shape there on the leg, as the background will be all saturated. And this piece is quite heavily saturated as well. So it's a nice contrast, having a little bit of a lighter finish on the top of the piece here. Yeah, I think if I had done this like a dark value, or even how the reference was kind of looking, it would have been quite heavy and unbalanced on the top of the image there. So when you are looking at your concepts and all of that, especially when they're stenciled on the leg, you just want to make sure that everything is feeling nice and balanced. There's not any areas of the tattoo that are kind of too heavy or ruining the flow in any way. So now I'm just getting a little bit of those negative lines through the piece a little bit, and really starting to focus on the flow that I want to bring into this piece, especially on the edge of this piece. So I do want this negative flow to kind of be left open on the edges, because we're going to be kind of coming back to a lot of these spots on where that negative flow will now start to interact with another piece that's placed on the other side of the leg, you know. So I want like all of this flow to be really like kind of dancing in and out from all the other pieces. And today I'm going to be using Metrix cartridges and my Bishop shader machine. I really haven't put this machine down since using it. I have dropped my volts back a little bit more just to get a heel that is that much nicer. But I really think, like, it might just be a personal thing for me, but I love the Bishop shader, and I'm glad that I didn't go for a Packer, which I was starting to lean towards. So if you are thinking of like weighing up your options on whether to get the shader or the Bishop Packer, yeah, I would just go the shader. If your work is more realistic, and you are wanting to really take your time in areas, I think it's a great option. For sure, if you're wanting to, like, I guess, bang things out a little bit faster, maybe a little bit less of like that hyper detail and stuff, then the shader, the Packer, sorry, might be more for you. But I'm just getting started here. I'm mapping in these waves, making sure that all of that is locked in. And I'm kind of varying up my line weight here as well, so that it's kind of interesting to look at. I'm going with a 7 round shader for the bolder stuff, and then using that 7 round liner extra tight for some of these more sharper lines. Like, it really is the contrast throughout art that creates something really nice to look at. So even with your line weights, it's an important point to talk about. So now I think we're, a few hours into it. We're really smashing this piece out today, so you can see that kind of like larger line weight there with some of that nice smooth shading behind it. And we're getting towards the end of our day here for the tattoo session. Working up behind the back of the knee, that's not really the nicest spot to be at, especially right at the end of the day. But yeah, the bro sat through there. I did apply a little bit of Bactine here kind of throughout the session, especially just for this top part, just to take that sting out a little bit there. Now, I don't use Bactine every day, but I do think it is a really good, like, numbing alternative. Sure, you need to tattoo and kind of open the skin up a little bit before applying it, but for the end of the day, like, it's really good to help someone get through their session, and I do prefer that to someone applying the numbing cream on for like an hour and a bit beforehand. The skin's like quite hard to work with, and you can really risk the quality of your heel, which even personally I've had happen. Due to the numbing cream there. But with the Bactine, I've never really had any bad results from it. Is this a sore spot yet? Or nah?
Bottom of the slide, eh?
That's a sorest. Yeah, I think it's like that, bro. Like the ankles. Yeah. Behind the knee, but it's just a little line. But it's always sore at the end of the day. Alright, that's our piece done. What's the time now? I think we started tattooing at maybe just before 11 o'clock, and it's just after 5 o'clock now. So yeah, we covered a bit of ground, which I was pretty stoked about. Especially, like I said, he's a professional athlete, and he's not sure when he's able to get his next day off to come back in. So, like, just like anyone, while my tattoo is like outside, I want it to be like always looking good, you know? So I always have that in my mind, kind of where I'm stopping or starting, whether I just line something out above. But I want like a good product to be out there. And my client wants the same thing as well, you know? So yeah, I'm glad we were able to get a lot of that smashed out. Now, one other thing that's really important, obviously with like styles like Japanese, or if you're freehanding in aspects of your tattoos, I always throw my pens away at the end. So I use this red pen here and a little bit of a ballpoint pen to get some more defined parts in there towards the end as well. So yeah, these just need to be thrown away, in my opinion, like single time use. So there was a point there where I needed to draw on some of the cherry blossom petals. I had already tattooed some of the wave and a little bit of that samurai there. So I just knew that this pen is now contaminated, even though there was a fair distance around from where I was tattooing. That skin is now broken, and I've wiped over the skin. You know, it's really easy for any like bloodborne stuff to then pick up onto the end of your pen. So I do think it's a really good tip to just throw them all out. Like, it's a few dollars over risking someone getting either a piece really infected, which is really your best case scenario. You know, things can get a lot worse with a lot of the bloods and stuff that we're dealing with. Now I'll just give a quick wipe down to all the surfaces as well, just with a bit of ViraClean. Now I did also just have my client for tomorrow. They cancelled about 3 hours ago. So whatever I do with tomorrow, I'm gonna make sure that it's productive, you know? This is something like all tattooists, you're always gonna have cancellations, you know? So I think you need to like understand that that's like inevitable, it's always gonna happen. And just have things like ready that you can do in those moments when people cancel, you know? And the main thing for me really is my painting work. So if I'm not painting tomorrow, then I will sort a client. I guess I'll go home and think about that for a little bit, whether I want to tattoo or if I want to paint tomorrow. I'm not really too bothered either way, but I also have to go to the gym later tonight, and then after the gym, I need to work on some of the Tattoo Academy stuff there as well. About 9:30 at night at the moment. I do have a few things left to do. I need to reply to some of the bros in our group chat for the Real Tattoo Academy. I'll give you guys a quick look. So today we were talking quite a bit about cover-ups. One of the bros said I think he's got a piece coming up and asked some questions about that, and it kind of got some of the other members thinking and asking some relevant questions to that kind of topic of cover-ups. So we can have a quick look here. If this focuses, you can see we're kind of just talking about cover-ups and that. Brother, while we're on this topic, sometimes when I'm asked about doing a cover-up over something big and dark, say tribal or Polynesian, and it looks like there's not much negative to work with, I often think, is it worth them just having maybe one laser session just to bring the black down a notch so you still have a tone you can use that's darker? Or do you still think the laser causes too much damage to the skin? Because I used to tell them, bro, just get one session of laser, it'll help lighten it up a little, then I'll blast over. But what do I think? So on that topic, it basically started about one of the bros talking about, will a whitewash be good for a cover-up? Another one of the members asked if putting white over the tattoo before doing the session and trying to do the cover-up. So the white, if you're trying to knock the blacks back, it does work a little bit, but I don't think it's worth it. The whitewash or even black and gray, it works great. A little bit of opaque or a lot of opaque covers up really well. But my main thing that I do is I just use my whitewash and I try and just ignore the tattoo that's there, and I just do the best job I can for my cover-up piece, for this current tattoo. That's where 100% of my focus is. And then when that heals up, if there's anything that is still standing out too much from the original tattoo, then I can go back and take the action that I need to maybe try and knock back some of these values or just distract the eye even more from some of the ink that's there from the previous tattoo. So I'll just get back to his message there. And I guess talking about the laser. So he asked that question because I said in the past I had dealt with a lot of skin that was damaged from the laser. I'm not too sure if these were just bad cases. One had visible scarring, so the cover up, or it was basically covering up scars now, but it had just been lasered really poorly and there was a lot of scarring done to the skin. It was really hard to work with. And then I've had a few cases where the skin didn't look visibly scarred, but it just doesn't take ink very well. And it's just a little bit tougher. So generally, I don't even tell people to get the laser because then they need to wait even longer for between having the laser done to getting the tattoo. And quite often I find that as long as the tattoo is done really well, highly saturated and all of that, maybe my work just suits cover-ups a little bit more, but generally you can't see any of the old tattoo there at all. All right, so I'll just send this message back to the bro for the Real Tattoo Academy. Send them a little video. Hey, sup my brother. So I do think if you can avoid laser, it is the better option, because even when you ask someone to get the laser, sometimes they'll just hesitate and be like, oh, it's too muck around, and won't do it anyway. Some people might, but you can have that conversation with your client. I do think one laser session could be okay without causing too much damage. Maybe it's a rare case, but in general, I've found, yeah, it does cause a little bit of scarring. And generally, with my style of tattooing especially, when I do the cover-up, there's like nothing really seen. And for cover-ups, you really do want to avoid things like those smooth gradients, you know, because you'll be able to see the distraction and the other values and gradients from the previous tattoo. If you have a little bit more textures and stuff, it helps to like break it up, you know, like it's like visibly a noisier image. So it's kind of like scattering the pigment and stuff like that of the original tattoo. But do have a look on Procreate with the original tattoo, taking a photo of that and looking at your options. You know, sometimes you can even place a new tattoo like above and below and then make that cover-up section more of a background, you know. So yeah, just some things to think about. Okay, we'll send that through to the boys. Cool. Okay, so I think all that's really left to do now is go home, maybe edit a little bit of this. I need to plan out a little bit more stuff for the Tattoo Academy, and I also have another YouTube video that I'm working on, but I might just bump this stuff forward. It's a lot easier to work with. There's no like crazy editing. Just kind of like drag everything in and yeah, mash it all together. So cool. All right, guys, thank you for making it to the end of the video. I do really appreciate that. Now, I want to leave you guys with one thing to think about, and that's about becoming the best version of yourself. And what does that version of yourself look like? And what are their habits, you know? What are they doing on the daily without fail that is just getting them like 1% better every day and making sure they're ending up being the artist and the person that they want to be, you know? It's kind of like today's actions, like it's already past 9:30 at night, but we're still going. There's a lot to do. I think being exhausted and like kind of, I guess, overworking yourself, like that's a privilege to feel like tired and exhausted from working at something that you love doing, or even if you don't love doing it, but it's helping you. It's like an important part of your journey, you know. I've been through kind of all these stages of tattooing, and before that with jobs that maybe I didn't love, but you know, it's all important as long as you have that real like end goal there for yourself. So do try and think about like, what does the best version of yourself do? Maybe write it down. Maybe you can write down like one thing that you can do tomorrow that's going to get you that much closer to being that person or achieving your goals. So cool. I'll leave you guys there just with something to think about. I do want to motivate you guys to like really excel. I want to see you guys doing sick tattoos, sick artwork, and yeah, just improving all of that. So cool. I hope you guys enjoyed that video.